been performing pretty exceptionally as of late. Like, they've kind of come out of nowhere and been doing well at some online tournaments, and a lot of them have flown out from South America, so this is a really big thing for these guys, and I know that they're going to be putting their hearts into it.
It's a pivotal time period in Splatoon 2, and it looks like we're about to get into the first game here. It's going to be Rainmaker on Blackbelly Skate Park between Overpower and PICKUPgrade. Let's go ahead and take a look at the compositions that these two teams are bringing out. Only a couple of surprises. I see the Dapple Dooley's Nouveau coming out, as well as the Dynamo Roller comboing with some more meta weapons like the Kensa Splattershot Pro.
Yeah, this is a really cool splash damage comp coming out of PICKUPgrade. Overpower on the other side has chosen to go with a quad shooter comp. Now, of course, Rainmaker generally tends to be the game mode where that is the best option, or at least from quad shooter comps, Rainmaker's kind of the best mode to go with, but we'll see how they're able to handle that splash damage matchup. Right here at the start of the game, it's just a neutral situation. It looks like actually PICKUPgrade has got the first pick, and they're also the first to pick up the Rainmaker.
Yeah, the NZAP is another weapon that I think has been very popular and never really lost a lot of steam in Splatoon so far. Right now, Overpower making a great push so far, almost all the way to half. But on this map, it's such a relatively small map that even getting to 50 can be easily overtaken later on by the enemy team.
Oh yeah, this is one of the maps where you can expect teams to make explosive pushes very often. It's very easy to push on this map. It's very hard to defend on this map. So we're going to see a lot of pushes really often. Also, what you said about the NZAP, something I think about the NZAP that really makes it kind of immune to meta changes is that it's kind of like, it's a fair weapon, but it's a very solid and well-rounded weapon. So if you're a strong player, you can kind of use the NZAP in any meta because it has all the tools that you need to be successful overall. It just isn't cheap.
Lead taken up to 49 there. They took a completely different route, going through that half pipe, and now Queen trying to lock it back down for PICKUPgrade to see if they can get a foothold once again. The Tenna Missile's coming out, and the Tenna Missile is something I've talked about a couple of times. A very underrated special. It took multiple buffs to bring it into the meta, but now I think it finally might have found its place.
Yeah, once a lot of players have been kind of persuaded to play more missile weapons because of the actual buffs to the main weapons themselves, they've kind of found that the missiles actually are pretty good once you get good with those guns.
We'll be looking here at a couple of specials coming online. The Kensa Pro for Overpower about to have their Booyah Bomb available. And we also have the Explosher, a backline weapon that's very non-traditional. Its main purpose is to just put on that pressure from way outside and even from behind walls in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I think it's a really good choice for this comp, especially because of the Dynamo Roller. Dynamo is definitely a weapon that we don't see very often. But the Explosher and the Dynamo can both do more than 50 damage per shot. So from a very long range, those two weapons can combine fire with each other very strongly.
Both high-risk, high-reward weapons that require a lot of patience and good positioning here. It's going to be Derek picking up the Rainmaker. Of course, the Booyah Bomb going to zone them out. They'll probably have to go right here, but instead opting to maintain control of this half-pipe here. No specials online, but it's not required as Lil Gons could be picking up a potential triple there, and it's only going to be the Kensa Splattershot alive, which has been yet another meta weapon in this tournament.
Yeah, Lil Gons using, I mean, in general, he's a very aggressive player, and he is definitely the kind of player to be the one to sweep up and get a kill that is being distracted by a teammate in that kind of situation. That's really the way weapons like Dapples work. You know, it's that kind of bait and switch. You as a backline player that has a long reach, you put a lot of pressure on someone, and then that frontline player like Lil Gons sweeps in and gets the kill on the person that's not prepared. Beautiful play, and it got them to a score of 39. But like you said, this is a map where the score can change very, very quickly. A score 39 really isn't a game-winning push. About 2 minutes left on the clock. There's plenty of times for both teams to make a better one.
I've noticed with Overpower that their special usage is really well in sync. They basically got their specials one after another in quick succession, and so you pop it off with the NZAP at first. Great kill there as well by the Dynamo, but it looks like even with all of those specials, PICKUPgrade just using the raw power of their weapons, and especially that long-range Dynamo Roller, to take control once again back of that half-pipe and try to get back into mid.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Dynamo Roller does have that long-range capability is such a big deal in this meta because Splatoon 2 has been in favor of being able to do things at longer ranges for a while now. So if you can get proficient at a weapon that can, work at longer ranges without it being a deficit to your team, it's going to pay off big time, and that's basically what the Dynamo's been doing so far.
We also have the heavy Splatling here with their Stingray online. Might be used to facilitate this push down the half-pipe. It is a very narrow alleyway, so that could allow PICKUPgrade to be too far zoned out in order to have an impact on the Rainmaker. But no, it looks like they're able to just barely stop the Rainmaker before it gets anywhere close to that 56 marker. So for now, PICKUPgrade's lead is safe, and they still have the Explosher special online, as well as the Dynamo. So again, their special economy not too bad off themselves.
Yeah, something a little bit that I want to mention about the path that Overpower chose to take. That left side push really doesn't get you that many points for basically the entire first stretch, and it is a little bit more difficult to pull off. It isn't until you actually get into knockout territory that you start to gain those points, and I don't know if that's because they're choosing that because they think that they need to go for the knockout, which, you know, is never a bad idea, or if they're kind of choosing for a different reason. But in order to get past 39, you don't really need to take that left side, so if they go for a late right-hand push, it might actually end up in their favor.
Time winding down here, only one member alive for Overpower, so it's going to be difficult to try and push in as PICKUPgrade will pick up the Rainmaker at the very end as it resets back to mid, and that will be a quick game one for them. I have to say, one of the pivotal matchups that we're going to need to watch in this game is those two frontline players. Because both teams are running mid to backline weapons each that don't have a ton of mobility, it's going to come down to Lil Gons picking up that 16 kill KAD there, and Nico Loco on the Kenta splatter shot rather. They're going to be the ones, especially on maps like Blackbelly, that have such great abilities for you to go around and flank. It's going to be their job to take a lot of the power and the positioning ability away from those backliners.
Yeah, and as far as comps go, I think that also we're looking at a situation where PICKUPgrade is kind of sitting comfortable with their weapon choices. They don't really have to change much. They shouldn't be able to dominate with it. And now we're going into tower control, which is a mode where going quad shooting weapons is not going to be as effective. So what I think needs to happen is Overpower needs to change up their team comps in order to overcome the bad matchup that they're kind of going to walk into if they don't change their weapons. Because if they don't, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble, especially on Mako Marta map where there's a lot of drop downs, a lot of spots where that Dynamo roller can kind of like shark underneath. The Explasher can throw splash damage up and over those barriers, and those situations where the shooter does not have a clear line of sight to their target are very, very difficult to overcome if you don't have any splash damage weapons on your team. Now, if they go with a comp that has a lot of lethal bombs and ways to use sub-weapons to get out of those situations, it's workable. But even so, it's not the best situation to be in because lethal bombs take up a lot of your ink tank, and unless you're actually running a comp that's all about bomb spam, you're going to have a difficult time kind of keeping up the level of threat that, you know, a Dynamo or a Blaster or some kind of Slosher or something can output in this kind of situation. So what I'm looking for right now is a situation I've seen a bunch of times, which is, can Overpower fundamentally change the composition of their team to meet you know, the needs of this next game mode? Because I've seen many times in the past teams that go with these quad shooter.
Control on Mako Mart. You know, oftentimes on Mako Mart, especially Rainmaker, I see sort of this mad dash into mid, and I don't think you necessarily need that on something like tower control. I think it's a lot more important to just kind of set yourself up to win based on getting map control early on your side, maybe get a couple of early picks, and as you pointed out, the bombs are already flying.
And also I want to point out that there is double Ninja Squid being used on the side of PICKUPgrade right now, so this is going to be pretty interesting. Ninja Squid is not as useful against shooters as it is splash damage weapons, but on this map, I mean, the frontliner and one of the splash damage weapons have that Ninja Squid to abuse, so if they're able to set up properly, it's going to be very devastating.
We're seeing my personal favorite weapon here, the Tri-Slosher, getting a couple of kills, and that's going to help PICKUPgrade get on the tower and make the second substantial push of the game behind Overpower's 90. There will be a Booyah Bomb online as well as those Tentamissiles. The Tentamissiles mainly just a zoning ultimate, not really going to get anything for now. The Kensa Pro has already gone down, so they're 83% towards that Booyah Bomb is going to fall, and Nico Loco with a couple of quick picks there. That's going to fully stop that push at 83.
I mean, you said that you wanted to watch the matchup of the frontliners right now, and Nico is doing a fantastic job at giving you what you want. Stingray goes off, Armor goes off. 4 members of Overpower alive. The start of a seemingly very strong push. Another member of PICKUPgrade goes down, and now they are kind of on the back foot. They're going to need to be patient, wait for 4 members to be up before they start going in. As all 4 members respawn, we see off the left side of our screen, a member of PICKUPgrade gets a pick, and with lots of back and forth afterwards, it seems like PICKUPgrade has fully defended this push, but that first checkpoint has been breached.
Yeah, the first checkpoint is a very difficult one. It's relatively early on in the actual push. I don't know how Derek was able to make it out there. But because it's right in front of that platform, a lot of long-range weapons can, or even midline weapons, can just kind of set up there, wait for the tower to come to the checkpoint, and then just melt anybody down that might be sitting on the tower. That's why reserving your specials for that first checkpoint, at least 2 or 3, is going to be pivotal in making it past there.
Yeah, it tends to be a huge deal. I mean, most tower control maps have that one choke point spot that really determines the flow of the match. Whichever team gets past that first, or if only one team gets past that checkpoint, I mean, that ends up being the game. And tower control is also one of the modes in Splatoon where really events that happen earlier in the game greatly affect later on in the game. Like, we just saw that Black Belly match where you were kind of situation where it's like, oh, you know, this happened, but it's Rainmaker, so that can change. Tower control, not so much. It's going to take a lot to overcome a deficiency, although PICKUPgrade is pretty close to doing that right now.
Potentially less snowbally than something like Rainmaker. That will be the lead gain there by 3 points by PICKUPgrade. And we are just at the halfway point of this game so far. Saginaw going to be barely getting away with that Ink Armor. So important. Being able to start a fight with an Ink Armor is part of why the game was so heavily Ink Armor influenced at the beginning of Splatoon 2's life cycle, is because just being able to have those extra invincibility frames, obviously they've been drastically reduced now over the course of Splatoon 2's life cycle, but just being able to have that insurance where that extra shot isn't going to stop your team fight is a huge, huge advantage.
Yeah, especially now that we're in a state where people are so much better at the game that little bit of an advantage can be taken a longer way. So definitely something like Ink Armor tends to be a big difference maker in a lot of situations. But now we are past the halfway point of the game, and both teams have barely gotten past the first checkpoint. So events that take place in the next minute of the game can definitely end it all if they play the follow-up situations good. And it looks like Overpower is doing just that. They've gotten to the second checkpoint. PICKUPgrade doesn't really have members in position to defend. This looks like it might be a very big push.
Yeah, Derek getting a nice kill there, using the Booyah Bomb to try and place them right in front of their shots. Another kill there as well on the Logans, looking for the third, jumping around, and will find the delayed triple onto Queen, and that will allow them, except for the Dynamo Roller, that was going to allow them to get to that third checkpoint, but a full wipe is going to put that halt on. And with 1 minute and 10 seconds left, not as far a push as you might want getting all the way into their spawn.
You gotta wait for the tower to go all the way back, then you gotta go past checkpoints, then you gotta survive things like specials. You know, Overpower, they have access to a Stingray and a Booyah Bomb. Both of those things are going to make a big deal. And even missiles, I mean, basically everything that Overpower right now has on their comp is great at shutting down pushes. And the fact that, you know, we're talking about tower control in this map, a map where it really does take a lot to push through the choke point areas. It's going to take a lot from PICKUPgrade to make this happen, especially with the Stingray online with 40 seconds left.
So here comes the Stingray. The Stingray going to be zoning out the Tri-Slosher and getting a nice kill off there. That's probably going to end the push at a 3-down situation, but relatively even as Overpower ends up losing 2 at the end of that fight. So a lot of their special power, especially with their Ink Armor so far delayed, they may not even get one before the game's over unless they're sitting on the tower in overtime.
Yeah, I think that the Heavy should be able to get a Stingray in the next like 15 seconds or so. So in the middle of overtime, it seems like, you know, Stingray will be a factor. And with that pick right there, he's going to get more meter in order to get to like the 76%, 78%. This is kind of, it's kind of tension building right now because this Heavy still isn't able to get Stingray. So if they're able to pick him off, or if they're able to kind of get like some counter specials, Overpower could, you know, get rid of that Stingray and make this happen.
Oh, watch out! And he's gonna climb on the tower, sharking on that wall, and the straight shooting of the end zap holds true. That will be the win there. So pretty interesting end to that match. You know, I think the plan there was to have your Dynamo Roller set up and be that main force on top of the platform, get a lot of the map control, build up that Ink Armor so quickly. But when you have guys like Derek getting an 18 KA, tough to keep that special the whole time.
Yeah, Derek definitely went above and beyond that match. I mean, we saw that triple, we saw the work that they put in, and Overpower really did a great job. Like, that push wasn't just that push. A lot of situations led up to that advantage that let them have that push. That triple kill turned a game-winning push into an almost knockout, which really made it so PICKUPgrade had to go for broke at the end of that game. They really had to make a desperation push, and, you know, when it comes to overtime pushes, if it's like, oh, you know, we only have to get to like 30 or we only have to get to 40 or something like that, you can play it a little bit differently than like, we basically have to knock it out, guys, and we haven't been able to do that yet, so do something.
Yeah, having to expend all of your resources when it's not ideal is something that comes about during overtime pushes. It's basically fire off your special as soon as you've got it, and the ideal state is for you to coordinate your specials in such a way where, like we talked about, you can maybe start with an Ink Armor. If they reach a checkpoint, you can hit them with a Stingray. If you have a Booyah Bomb, that's another great special for a checkpoint because they're going to have to vacate the tower or risk losing their life. So just being able to use your main weapon to pick up 2 or even 3 allows your team to have such a momentum swing where you're not having to use any of your specials and can save it for, like you said, when that tower goes all the way back to mid and then all the way forward to try and get past such a difficult push like Overpower had. But PICKUPgrade not able to afford the luxury of that situation.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you say that, right? Because it's almost as if the more important specials are, the more value you get out of normal picks, because every pick that you get that does not involve a special
Clam Blitz, Humpback Pump Track, another very open map. Lots of opportunities for flankers to go around, although we are seeing sort of a mid-range composition as a Tentabrella comes out, a camo Tentabrella, I believe, from I Heart Him. The more meta weapon still sticking around. This time we're seeing a Slosher Deco because it is Clam Blitz. The baller is going to be the one leading the charge all the way up to that pedestal.
I like the pick of the 83 coming out of Overpower. I think that it's a little bit, it's up and coming in the meta. I know that Japan's been using it a little bit. I've been using it as well. The point that I would make for that weapon on this map is you want to use the 83 to get a ton of paint control in the mid, to spam the Ink Storms whenever you get it, and to just make sure that your team controls mid long enough to get clams. And when that happens, your other teammates are going to have more influential specials on the push, meaning that your special is a little bit more expendable. You're more free to use it to get map control in mid. Like we see right now, that Ink Storm going off, pushing everyone back, the Sprinkler, and the ends up painting. I mean, look, that one weapon by itself just push back all of PICKUPgrade, and if their teammates are able to come through, then it's going to be advantage.
23 clams currently on the side of PICKUPgrade. Queen going to be expending that Booyah Bomb to try and create some map control right by the barrier. They will get it down to 44 thanks to that power clam, and Lil Gons having a party up by the pedestal, able to get a quick pick off and bring their lead down to 38 points. Quite a fantastic start here, and you can see the Dynamo, once they get map control in mid, they're right up there with the team. They're not staying behind on that lip. They're making sure that they have the map control to keep farming things like the Booyah Bomb.
Yeah, the ability to kind of do these stretch pushes where not everybody is as committed to the push really works out in situations like that, where you therefore are in a situation where your teammates are controlling mid, they have safe spawns for anyone who gets taken out, be able to pick up more clams, you know, paint more, build more specials. It just, when things are working out for you, having people kind of playing a little bit with a little bit more presence of mind in that way really helps to keep the push going. And 38 is a huge score to beat. I was about to say however, that there is a lot of time for Overpower to do something about it, but it seems like PICKUPgrade is once again on the offensive.
This is a true snowball effect here. It's 14 clams currently, and that's even with a dropped power clam. They're going to be
power
breaking
clam
the
went on an
barrier.
adventure there.
Yeah, kind of circled around like it was a rolling football. So we do see the ends up here. So I want to talk about Inkstorm again. Inkstorm and Bubble Blower have kind of had a tumultuous journey in Splatoon 2 because they were relatively well received. Bubble Blower especially pretty great for Clam Blitz, and now they've really been overtaken by things like the Booyah Bomb and the Baller, so it's rare to see one, although I will say Humpback Pump Track is one of the maps where it can still have a great effect.
That brute force effect that bubbles give you is definitely a very strong option. And something that I think also has affected the way bubbles are used is the fact that Camo Tentabrella is such a huge part of the meta, and it kind of like can be used to hard counter bubbles, that it kind of like makes teams not use Vanilla Tent as often. I mean, we do see that there's a Tenebrella being used right now, Camo Tent, excuse me, being used by PICKUPgrade, which is kind of, you know, evidence of the fact that we're in an ecosystem where maybe the Vanilla Brella isn't the best. That being said, Overpower is not using any hammer weapons, and they're not really using many specials that do that good of a job against bubble pushes, except for maybe the Booyah Bomb. So I think that, you know, one could argue if they really wanted to see Vanilla Brella, like, oh yeah, this is totally an okay time to use it. You know, you're not fighting a team that's going to be using the hammer, but I think that PICKUPgrade kind of went with the more straightforward meta choice in this situation. It seems to be working out for him.
Yeah, the Tenta Camo Umbrella, almost like having an additional baller at your disposal because you can just hide behind that gigantic shield. And speaking of ballers, Lil Gonz pushing up, able to get Nico Loco, and able to almost avoid the Booyah Bomb. Not quite. So it looks like that push might be dead in the water, but at the same time, all PICKUPgrade really needs to do right now is keep them out of mid and keep them from picking up clamps. This is the first time, I think, in several minutes where they've had more than 10 clamps at their disposal.
Yeah, there's been a lot of picks back and forth, and, you know, Upgrade has usually been, you know, on the beneficial end of that. So the fact that Overpower hasn't been able to really get, you know, a power clamp going is the biggest surprise. I think that really they need to focus on making sure that they stay alive and get map control in a way that's conducive to getting picks. If they can do that, they're going to be in a better situation for pushing. But, I mean, like I said earlier, you know, the reason that the 83 should be on a comp like this is to kind of help in those situations. You know, root for some map control, consistently stand specials and paint into mid. That way your teammates can start getting clamps, start getting picks, start controlling mid. But really, Overpower hasn't been able to do that yet.
Wow, and what a push at the end of the game there. Didn't even need to throw the Booyah Bomb right on top of the barrier. They threw it left side where that jump down is to make sure that nobody could try and pull off a flank, used the shield from the Tenta Camo Umbrella to hide behind, and had enough clamps to finish the game off. So completely ignored the enemy team there as they tried to pick up any remaining clamps to make an overtime push. That's not going to happen. PICKUPgrade finishing them off and taking the momentum their way to try and pull off a win by game 4.
Yeah, I think that a lot of what happened there was, you know, in that tower control game, Overpower really showed their ability to like get those kills and have that teamwork and all that kind of stuff. But I think that this particular map and mode really wasn't the kind of map and mode where that quad shooting comp could really kind of overcome things like the camo tent and like the slash deck and all that stuff. What we really saw there was a situation where, yeah, like they had that 83 and stuff like that, but, you know, the Hydra and the two shooters really couldn't just move up in mid and do something about those splash damage weapons, you know, because Humpback Punch Truck has like this curvature at the top of the map. It's like flipping a salad bowl upside down, and the shooter can't get a straight line to the enemy on the other side, but those splash damage weapons can. Then the camo shield can kind of come across, and I just think that that was one of the situations where their inflexibility really hurt them. Even though, ironically, the Tower Control Mako Mart should have been one of those situations, they played it in a different way. They positioned themselves in a way that got around those problems, around those drop downs. Not so much on Humpback.
It's almost like having a miniature moat, and there were plenty of gators in the water for PICKUPgrade, so not allowing Overpower to get anywhere near mid until about the midway mark. And now for Splat Zone Sturgeon Shipyard, I think we're going to be seeing the Splatlings come back. This is one of the Splatling Paradise maps. Of the focus from both teams.
Yeah, and I think another thing about Camo Tent that's really nice on this map in particular is the fact that it can kind of rotate a lot with its shield. So even though you do commit to moving forward if you move with your shield with the tent, you can do so in ways on this map that don't really overcommit, you know, outside of the fact that you're using your shield. That being said, we don't see a Camo Tent in this matchup. We do see a Vanilla Umbrella, which is, again, a very hard matchup for normal shooters. So this is still a situation that, you know, Overpower is going to have to overcome another bad matchup.
Yeah, no buckets on the side of Overpower, so they're not going to be able to shoot over that camo either. It is going to be Overpower establishing some domination, though. And again, we see the return of that Inkstorm. Because it is a one-zone map, that's kind of a logical choice. You can just throw that down and make sure that the map gets covered while you can focus on taking down the enemy team. On the opposite side of things, we are again seeing the return of the Hydra. So using their long-range backliner as their ink arm farming weapon is a pretty interesting choice.
Yeah, Hydra is more of a weapon where it's just a good main weapon that just gets easy kills. And I know that the word easy doesn't sound like something that you would care that much about in competitive play, but honestly, weapons that are strong and easy to use basically just translate to consistent. And, you know, at high-level plays, a consistent weapon just gets so many benefits over time that it really makes a big difference. So going the Hydra is kind of a statement that's saying, like, we want to get consistent picks out of our backline. And, that pick right there, speaking of picks, is going to be a big deal because every single time, every time Overpower takes out Umbrella, it's a big deal.
And that's a big deal right there. A double kill there for iHeart and More. Looking for another one on JM. Nothing you can really do is you have to wind up those shots with the Hydra. And now PICKUPgrade feeling comfortable enough to push up on top of this platform here. And it will be Lil Gons trying to avoid those 10 missiles and push the members of Overpower even further back. Feeling comfortable enough to expend a Booyah Bomb, and it works out for them.
Yeah, this spawn trapping situation is going great for Team Upgrade. And honestly, I think that those 10 missiles should have been aimed at the Hydra. Dually is a weapon, like shooters in general are weapons that can get away from missiles pretty easily. There's something like a Dynamo that has to really hard commit to every time it pulls a trigger. That's the kind of weapon that you want to target with missiles in a solo situation, because that completely shuts out the Dynamo's ability to do anything for several seconds. That didn't really work out for Overpower, but the thing is, right now, they need to do something quick because Team Upgrade's about to get...
Oh, it's going to be so close. The Dynamo Roller doing everything they can to end this game here and now, and it will work. A quick one as PICKUPgrade is going to take the 3-1 over Overpower. And even though Overpower did come out with a lot of momentum, they lost it pretty quickly here. It seemed like they were banking on this Hydra being able to set up in an advantageous position, but because they were trapped back in their court way behind the zone, they had no visibility for the vast majority of that match.
Yeah.